So just, you don't have to push any buttons. So this is the oil pan, right? This goes on the underside of the engine and holds the oil in. And here's the old gasket. It's all old and rotten. It'll come off. Now on this one, this is where the crankshaft runs around, and it's got splashers. It'll come around and splash oil up. And I'll show you some of that here in a second. But right here is where the oil pump goes down. So there's like this top basin, and then down underneath there's another basin in there, and that's where all the oil goes. If you can, I don't know if you can see it in there, but it's all sludgy and gross down there because it's got old oil in it.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. So, and then this is an oil return, so oil can go back in here. So this thing, the oil comes up this deep and then runs out in there, and then the oil pump has a filter on it that sucks it up. So let's come over here.
I don't want to get it too
You're all right.
blurry and stuff.
You're all right. You're all right. Come over. So here's the motor. I'm going to pull the oil pan off, right? Step back, pull it back a little bit, and be careful. Don't lean on this because this motor will fall over and hurt you if you lean on it. Now look up under here. This is the oil pump. So it sits right down inside that hole I was showing you over there. Now pull this back so you can actually see what's going on. Look at it from your point of view, okay? So if you want to look at something, you move your head and that so you can see it. So this is the oil pump. Yuck, look at all that old crud on there. I just smeared off on my hands. Now, we talked before about the valves, and up here on top, how the pistons and the valves all work together, right? Don't get your fingers in there, you could get hurt. All right, now come over here and look. So we talked about this too. Get back a little bit because you're getting out of focus. And come around over here. So here, I'll turn this some so we get some better light. There. So this gear, this crankshaft here, this thing that's spinning, this is the flywheel. The crankshaft is attached to it. The pistons go down. Boom. You get a big explosion, right? Everything turns. There's a gear up in here that we'll talk about later that meshes with this gear. This gear is made out of some sort of plastic or fiber, and you can see it's all broken up on this one. All the teeth are missing. Well, so the question is, how does a piston going up and down turn into a circular motion here, right? So let's come over here and look up. So this...
Ow!
Sorry. This...
I can't see it.
Right here where my hand is, this is a crankshaft. So come right over here, look in this way. Look right over my shoulder. Don't worry about that, just come over here and look over my shoulder. So, can you see this now? Get your head down here so you can see. Come right down here. You see this?
Yeah.
This is the crankshaft. See that? How it turns? This right here is called a connecting rod. This connects the crankshaft to the piston. So up inside, up there, the piston sits on top like this, and there's this thing that moves like a wrist, and so the piston moves like a wrist. So as that thing comes down, see how this, scoot back. See how my arm's doing this? The piston's here like this, but as it comes up, it does that, and then it does this. You see how my elbow's moving in a circle? That's what's going on inside of there. This pin up here that we'll get to eventually is called a wrist pin because it works like a wrist. So this is the bottom of the crank. So the piston connects directly to here, and when the piston goes bang, when the explosion happens, it pushes this down. Down it goes. And it pushes it around. There's 4 of them in here, and they're all pointed off together like that. So in here is a bearing. That probably shouldn't move that free. It's kind of loose. So that those need new bearings for sure. And then this is a bearing, this is a bearing, and back here is a bearing. And these are called your mains. These are your main bearings. These hold the crank into the block and keep it from going anywhere.
Daddy?
Yep.
What do those do?
These are the springs on the lifters. So this camshaft pushes the lifters up, but if those springs weren't there, they just float around wherever they wanted to go. So these springs push them back down on this washer right here. See this thing? The springs push against the top and they push there, and that thing's mounted on the valve so that when the camshaft turns away, it pulls it down. And do you remember me talking about how the distributor comes in through this deep hole here and connects up to this shaft? This same shaft comes down inside of here and runs the oil pump. So we can probably pull the oil pump out here. just like that. And see, that's just like what was on the distributor shaft. And inside of here, see this screen? This is all these old engines have for a filter. And look at all the crud inside of there. That is gross, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So these really old engines, every so often you had to actually, to change the oil and clean the filter, you actually had to pull the oil pan off the bottom. You had to climb up underneath of it, pull the oil pan off, pull the oil pump apart, clean it all out, put it back together. It was a lot of work. Nowadays on modern cars, somewhere usually on the underside is just an oil filter that screws on. Okay. Oh, and looky here. Here we can see the two gears. See the gears? Mm-hmm. So this is the gear on the end of the timing shaft, on the end of the camshaft, and this is the gear on the crankshaft right here.
Sorry if I'm in your face with the camera.
That's okay. Can you see it on the camera?
Yeah.
All right. So you can see how these two gears mesh together there like that, right? Mm-hmm. So this one goes around, it spins, and it causes this one to turn, which makes all the other stuff happen. And this is all very tightly controlled together. Yeah, my hands are gross and covered with sticky oil, really sticky oil. This is stickier than oil really it usually is, so there's other old crap.
Because it's really old.
I think you're right. It's got a lot of goop in it. Now you see right here? See this thing?
No, not really.
Can you see that right there where my finger is? Mm-hmm. That is a seal. This is your rear main seal. This is what keeps the oil from leaking out the back of the engine and down all over the ground. And these commonly leak and get oil everywhere. So if you got an oil leak in your car on your engine, this is a good place for it to be. Especially if you just rebuilt it, because it's easy to mess up. And there's another one right here. This is the front main seal. Should be right there, but it's not there. It's probably in the oil pan. Yeah, I can see it in the oil pan back there. And it's two halves that come together. They're a piece of fiber. All right, go ahead and turn that off, and we can be done with that.
How do you turn it off?
Just push the square.
Square.